Here's some more of the review problems, the interest depreciation problems, and this is number 2. Joe buys a house for $260,000. Its value will increase by 4.6% of its value at the end of each year he owns it. How much will the house be worth in 12 years? So real estate usually does appreciate. So you want to buy a house as soon as you can because it's not only a place to live in, but it's an investment. So again, we're going to write down our basic formula, and we can use the same thing, even though it's appreciation. We can think of the value of the house, the initial value, as P principal. It's the same thing. So the amount we're going to have equals my principal, which is my initial amount, times 1 plus R over N to the NT. But in this case, N is going to be 1. So I can write that formula now like this. Amount equals initial value times 1 plus R to the T. And that's our regular appreciation when we have something that appreciates one time per year. Now in your quiz you can either write this or this for this. This is a little bit more specific application of this general formula, compounding formula, because we're only going to be compounding it once per year. And then we'll put our data in. Now what was our data? Well, the initial amount, that would be our principal, or initial amount, was $260,000. My rate of increase was 4.6%. And I changed that to a decimal, so I moved that point 2 places to the left, so 0.046. And my time was 12 years. T equals 12 years. And then we just put that data in the formula. So amount equals 260,000. Okay, parentheses 1 plus, and my rate was going to be 0.046. So since I don't have a fraction, I don't have to worry about another parentheses, and my time was 12. So this is a lot easier to work out. And then, how am I going to put it in the calculator? Oops, should have put it here. Excuse me. So this is actually putting it in the formula, which is almost how you're going to put it in the calculator. Let me erase that caret, because that's your next step. So we'll move that. Because I want you to do these on the quiz, I want you to show all the steps, just to make sure that you thoroughly understand what's going on. So here's the just putting the data in the formula. There we go. Okay, and then I want you to write the calculator form, which is very similar in this case. Amount equals 260. 1 plus 0.046, parentheses, caret 12. And that's how it goes in the calculator. So you're going to get 1 point for either one of these, 1 point for this, 1 point for this, and then 1 point for the answer. Okay, so we just get our trusty calculator out. And you may say that's a lot of writing, but you know, with me it's better safe than sorry, so the more writing the better. So here's my good old little calculator, $1.99 calculator. You can buy these at different dollar stores or 99-cent stores. It's a great deal. It's got the caret, it's got parentheses, it's got the little arrows up here that let you go forward and backwards. Real great deal. So suggest everybody get one if you don't have your own. I mean, for $1.99 you could buy a couple. Buy one for a friend. Okay, so turn it on. Now if you don't know how to turn these off, once you turn them on, I remember when I first got one of these, I couldn't figure out how to turn it off. The off button's over here, but it's this second, these little numbers, you have to use the shift key to get these little secondary things up here. So the off is the second, so you press the shift and then the off, and that's going to go off, okay? I remember my first one, how do you turn the thing off? Okay, there we go. Now you know. So 260,000, so I'm just using this method over this calculator line over here, 260, 1, 2, 3, parentheses, 1 plus 0.046, parentheses, double check, make sure it's in right, and then caret 12. And like I said, you can use these little arrows here just to make sure you got everything in right. And then press enter or equals, and you got your answer. Oops. So we got to come over here. So we got $446,019.20, and then 8's bigger than 5, so 21 cents. So man, it's almost doubled in value. Wow. Say real estate. Okay, so it's going to be worth $446,000. $19.21. Since 8 is bigger than 5, I add 1 to that. So in 12 years, you've made almost a couple $100,000 just by making your house payment. So that's why, as soon as you can, buy a house. Don't be paying rent. If you're paying rent, you're just paying somebody else's house payments. Try to get your house, get in there, and you're building up what we call equity. See, because you could always, even if you owe money on the house, you could always borrow on the equity because you got more value. So keep that in mind. All right, and number 3, this is a depreciation problem. Mary buys a car for $23,000. It depreciates at 3.5% of its value at the end of each year. How much will it be worth in 8 years? So now depreciation, instead of adding, we're going to be subtracting. So number 3. And my general formula will be amount equals principal, and then I could 1 minus r over n to the nt. Although usually when you have depreciation, it's not going to be depreciating compoundedly more than once a year. So n will almost always be 1 in depreciation problems. So whenever you have a minus sign, it's going to be 1 minus r to the nt. I'm sorry, to the t. Excuse me. Because n's always going to be, in depreciation problems, it's almost always done yearly. So n is always 1, so we just have a t up here. So that's your basic depreciation formula. Anyway, just want you to see that it's still an extension off of this one. So again, you get 1 point for either this or this. Just make sure you have the minus sign, and then n is 1. Right over here, n equals 1. And then you put your data in, so the amount is, and my principal was how much we started with, the initial amount, in this case it's 23,000, times 1 minus, oops, I forgot to write it on my data, shame on me. My principal amount, or my beginning amount, was $23,000. My rate was equal to 3.5%. which is 0.035. Move that decimal point 2 places to the left, and the time is equal to 8 years. So there we go. So we'll put this minus 0.035 to the 8th power. So there's your data in your formula. And then we write it as a calculator. Input 23,000. 1 minus 0.035 parentheses caret 8, and then equals. So 1 point for this formula would be preferable, but you could write this in general, n is 1. But the minus sign is important because it's depreciation. 1 point for putting the data into this formula. And then 1 point for your calculator, and then 1 point to work it out. All right, so let's get this done. And it's going to be 23,000, parentheses, 1 minus 0.035, that's 3.5%, parentheses, and then caret, my trusty caret over there, caret, and 8 years. Okay? And we get 17,000, there's a comma there, 296, and since this is bigger than 5, I add 1, so 3 cents. So my answer would be $17,296 and 3 cents. We round up to the nearest cent. Excuse me, let's get this over there so you can see it. And that's it. All pretty easy, just need to practice it. And again, for the quiz, 1 point, 2 points. I'm sorry, 1 point for this, 1 point for this, 1 point for this, 1 point for that. Makes it a 4-point problem. Okay, hope that all makes sense.